In U.S. governments this week, though, dumping all their Bitcoin. You hate to see it.
It's awful. It's really, to me, it's the worst policy move of the Biden administration. It eclipses even the SEC or the Department of Energy coming after Bitcoin miners. All of those things they're almost cosmetic, right? Theatrics, but selling Bitcoin that were seized, it's wrong on two levels. One, it's wrong on the financial level of, okay, they should be holding the Bitcoin because they can print dollars, so there's no reason to be buying dollars on the market. But two, on the moral level of, well, what if the asset forfeiture gets reversed? What if a court says, actually, you have to give the Bitcoin to so-and-so? And so then the government would have to go out and buy the Bitcoin, or they would have to pay the person in some kind of dollar amount that is not reflective of the Bitcoin's value. So even for people who say, oh, the government should not seize Bitcoin, and therefore the government should sell seized Bitcoin, that's illogical. Because if you think the government should not seize Bitcoin, then you should also believe that the government should return the seized Bitcoin, not sell it. And so at the very least, they should hold it until they're in a position to return it. It's a policy decision that in many ways will be irreversible. So as Bitcoin's value increases. And that really is unforgivable. But we'll see if the next administration has a wiser approach to it.
And I'm not sure exactly which portion of the seized Bitcoin they're selling this week. I forget from which asset seizure it is. But I think in the case of Bitfinex, where the U.S. government seized Bitcoin from the person that stole Bitcoin from the exchange, like Bitfinex should get their Bitcoin back if we live in a just society.
I think they did, but I don't know about the specific details. I thought the coins they were selling was related to Silk Road still, but
it's still Silk Road. Yeah. Yeah, I want to be clear. I don't know if they're selling Bitfinex's coins, but they're still holding them. They should give them back to Bitfinex.
They should.
It's, and how much is... What would you guys put the likely? Obviously, we have El Salvador. We're seeing these movements of the BRICS countries diversifying away from treasuries. We've seen China buy a lot of gold. El Salvador, again, obviously, big moment in Bitcoin, country making it legal tender, staying humble and stacking sats month in and month out. But what do you think it would do to accelerate the speculative attack if one of the bigger nations got it? And what would the two of you put the likelihood of a larger nation outside the U.S. getting into Bitcoin going into the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, I think that it may be driven through the Bitcoin mining industry, that nations that are abundant in energy, at first it's the private sector that's mining Bitcoin, and then you have a politician say, oh, we should mine all of the Bitcoin here, and then they realize that would be very expensive relative to buying Bitcoin. And so that's how you would end up kind of walking through the maze to end up buying Bitcoin, is from the energy angle. Obviously, the Middle East stands out in its energy abundance, but there's lots of other places.
Hey, do you still have your Bitcoin on an exchange? Don't hold your Bitcoin on an exchange. Take it into self-custody. If you're looking for an easy way to do that, we have the BitKey. BitKey is Bitcoin made easy to use and hard to lose. Take the first step, get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Check out the link in the show notes. That'll get you 20% off your BitKey, or use the code TFTC20
around
at
the
checkout.
World. I think that's the highest probability, but I still think that's low probability compared to El Salvador continuing to be the standout, just like MicroStrategy is the standout, and that El Salvador could attract a tremendous amount of economic activity. You had Kathy Wood saying they're going to 10x their GDP. And so really it might end up being that MicroStrategy and El Salvador continue to grow rather than other competitors trying to imitate them in the short run, at least.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think mining is the most obvious first step for nation state. I'm not even sure I call it adoption necessarily, involvement, nation state involvement. The one thing I'd add to Pierre's comments, though, is that I think this isn't really addressing your question, Marty. Sorry, I'm not sure how likely I think this is. It's more just whenever this does happen, I think it will be kept secret for a long time, for basically as long as whoever's doing it can get away with it. So it could be that it's happening now. Maybe that kind of answers the question a little bit. It could be happening right now, and we won't know for several years.
And we have had recent confirmation of the strategy you're describing with the Kingdom of Bhutan, which was quietly accumulating Bitcoin since early 2020, but due to the fact that they got swept up in some bankruptcy proceedings, it was.
I don't know the details there all that much, but that's.
Yeah, you didn't know that? The Kingdom of Bhutan had to come out and admit, like, yes, we've been mining Bitcoin and accumulating Bitcoin.
I knew they admitted it. I didn't know why.
Because they got caught up in the Celsius and BlockFi bankruptcy proceedings, and so it got made public that they were doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's unfortunate for them, I guess. Well, but then that's even back to, like, they need education, right? Like I told you, they're going to get wrecked.